My name is Douglas Bradford. I'm an alumni of this program. Graduated in '06, so it's been a second. And guess I've been living in Brooklyn since sort of 2005, 2006, sort of expatriated after the hurricane. Just went to grad school up there as well, and just trying to, been hanging out in the Brooklyn scene and getting into improvised music there. Kind of put together have a few different bands that I'm doing up there. Have a record out with one of them, and this is a trio I've been working with for about the past year, and we do some trio versions of quartet music I wrote, and I've written a handful of trio music for these dudes. Just wrote a quartet piece for kind of to blend classical and free improv earlier this year for clarinet, cello, have a baritone 7-string guitar, and I kind of used that instead of a bass player. So I was using that, and drums, and that was fun. Got to play that earlier this year. And yeah, so I figured we'd play some of the music. If you have any questions, happy to answer. And I'll talk about some of the concepts. We're gonna play one tune that's part of a suite I wrote called Deepwater Horizon. The first piece is called Umbra. The second one's called Deepwater Horizon, and then the next one's called Sleepwalking, and the last part's called On the Good Note. We'll play parts of it. And this first one's called Umbra.
Doug, what were you going to graduate school in New York?
I went to NYU.
NYU, okay.
Yeah, it was cool. It was sort of,
yeah.
Got to hang with a lot of different teachers, met a lot of great people there. I think that's one of the best things about college and university, and especially jazz programs now. It seems like you meet a lot of the people you're going to play with there, or through the people you meet there. And yeah, I mean, I'm still playing with a lot of the people I met in school up there, or people I met through those people. Got to study with a couple of really cool teachers. Like Ralph Alessi, he kind of turned me on to a lot of the Brooklyn improvised music that I wasn't already aware of, and tried to get us to sort of open things up and introduce us to new ideas. Hung out with George Garzone a little bit up there, took some lessons with him. Brian Lynch, did a semester with Peter Bernstein, and it was just sort of a hang. It was kind of just really cool, to get a chance to hang with an older musician who's done a lot of playing and really knows the music. I think that was the greatest thing about hanging with Peter, was that you'd go hang with him and he'd be like, okay, so do you know the melody? And it's like, have you checked out the original changes? I remember we were playing My Funny Valentine, and kind of doing some weird modal thing with it. And he's like, yeah, that's cool, but you ever look at the actual lead sheet and see what the chords are, like the original changes? And so he really kind of got me into making sure to go back and check the music out. Because it's like, how many people grew up on Nirvana and rock music and stuff, right? So when I don't know, whatever music you grew up on, I mean, when you were first trying to learn it, did you go get the sheet music to learn it, or did you just pick it out or hang out with your friends and figure it out? So I mean, I think he really kind of, as well as a lot of the great teachers I had here, kind of really encouraged me to check the music out the same way you learn the other music you listen to. It's like if you learn a rock tune, you're gonna you remember kind of how the lyrics, how the song goes, and it's like you have the song playing in your head while you learn it. And I realized there was a lot of standards and a lot of tunes that I couldn't tell you, that probably hadn't even listened to a vocal version. And he kind of really impressed upon me how much all that music is one thing, and you have to really check it out and get into it. So if you're gonna play without a song, check out Frank Sinatra singing. Listen to what they're doing with that. How you guys doing? Good. You doing okay? Yeah.
quartet?
We're doing a couple of shows with quartet this week.
So you guys do have gigs in New Orleans? Or at?
We're playing at Blue Nile tonight. We're doing the open ears thing. We're playing at Dos Ejes on Thursday. We're playing the Covington Landing series on Friday, and Rex is going to join us. Rex Gregory is going to join us for that. And we're going to play some of the quartet stuff from this band I have called Atlas Obscura. And then Sunday night we're playing at Cavaliers Temple.
How did y'all meet?
It's a good question. I saw Cody play at a concert series just down the street from my house. He was playing with a couple other friends of mine.
In New York?
What's that?
In New York?
Yeah, out in Brooklyn. And yeah, liked his pleasures. I liked his playing, so I went and said hey, and yeah, I played some sessions and started kind of playing together a lot, and we've sort of been doing this trio thing for
About the bass player.
about a year now. How did we meet? Just a session. Yeah, I think like we just ended up on a session. New York is sort of there's an overabundance of musicians in relation to the gigs to an extent, and so there's this big culture. And not to mention people are, it's one thing I really like about it up there is like everybody's trying to work on something. They're trying to imagine a sound or imagine something that they would like to make into music. And everybody kind of gets together and workshop stuff. So there's this, on a regular basis, people just get together and play. Just like a rehearsal or something. We'll get together for a couple hours and check out each other's music, or maybe just practice something, an idea or something that we're working on.
Is the scene small out there?
What's that?
Is the scene small?
I wouldn't say it's small, but it's interesting how many people you run into in the same places.
Yeah.
It seems like for the jazz community out there, it is a bit of a small world.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time here, and then you went to New York. I mean, what are the opportunities compared to New Orleans for young musicians to get a chance to play? Is it less or more or about the same, or is it harder to get gigs? Or
I don't think it's. I found it's been challenging to play on a regular basis and to do a lot of gigs. But I feel like here there's a much greater opportunity to work, and it's like you're working playing standards, dance music, a lot of music that like kind of a lot of bar music, and then there's also the opportunities to play really creative music here too. In New York, I've just really focused on, I do some like society stuff and more things like that, but I guess my focus has been on just trying to play improvising, creative music and people's original music. So that tends to happen a little less frequently, I would say.
What kind of music you
but
say?
If you work to make it happen, it'll go down.
What kind of music you play up there again?
Improvised music. I guess kind of. I feel like it's hard to always call everything jazz because everybody has this sort of a different viewpoint or a different perception of exactly what that is. It's a huge debate to get into, I guess. But so I think it's a lot easier to just call it improvised music and have people interpret it how they want. So I guess we'll play a tune for you that I wrote called Umbra. album's called Umbra. Any questions about it?
Yeah, you said you wrote it about Deepwater Horizon, or the series was about.
Yeah.
Do you write songs about concepts often, like about? Yeah, like. I mean, when you write instrumental music, right? Do you like have something in mind as an inspiration for it a lot of the time?
Yeah. I mean, experience, or something that'll happen, or feeling, an idea, or an event. I feel like that was something that I was. I mean, I was living in New York when that happened, but it was something that kind of really impressed upon me. And, felt like it affected me a lot, and made me kind of got me thinking about a lot of different stuff. And yeah, I think it was sort of in a lot of ways a response to that. And then, I mean, I guess you're always, we practice different ideas and stuff, and then I think, it's good to have an organized way to work on things, and also have a way to just allow yourself to let that try to come out naturally. So, I guess that's sort of how I try to do it. Just work on stuff, and then when, or work on the craft, and then when, something inspires you and moves you, then, try to write something that captures how you feel about it, and, find a way to express that. For me, I feel like that's what I need to do with music, just to try to, it's practiced a lot of different things, but I'm always looking to try to express something, I hope.
You said the name of that was Umbrella?
Umbra.
Umbrella, like an umbrella?
Oh no, Umbra.
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 Umbra. Well, what was your feeling when you created that song? What was your intent to express?
I don't know. Umbra is the shadow that the earth casts as the sun shining on it, and I guess it's sort of about like the space in that dark and the darkness. Yeah.
What meter was that?
Most of it's in 5/4.
Well, you think when you were soloing on that tune, what's your approach to soloing on it? Was there any particular modality that you're thinking of, or is it more?
Kind of like the solo form. It's I kind of like to try to find a balance between density. So for a song, a lot of the stuff that I've written lately has been fairly dense. So for that song, it's just a 16-bar solo form, 8 bars of E minor, and then 8 bars of A flat minor, and then just kind of gives us an opportunity to have some limited structure, and then try to kind of play off that.
But it sounds like you're soloing within the character of the song, So it's like playing bebop on the song, obviously. So how do you what do you? Is that the way you approach soloing on your own original compositions? You tend to solo off the character of the composition?
Yeah, I guess that's what I do. But I'll try to find, I guess I'll work on take some of the phrases or a melody that I like, and then just try to work on developing that and finding different ways to develop that. Either, some could be intervallically, or using the shapes. Try to use fairly, I guess, like standard concepts, but then just try to find material that I feel like really resonates with me to work on. So I'll take like a part of the melody or part of an idea of what that is, and then try to find a way to, I guess, extrapolate something from that.
You like Rosenwinkel?
What's that?
Rosenwinkel.
How can you say it's not good?
You kind of sound like him, man. He does. You sound like him.
He's an influence.
Well, that's a big compliment.
He's definitely an influence.
I wish somebody would tell me I sound like Kurt Wilson.
I mean, it just sounds like Steve Masikowski to me. But I mean, yeah, we've all got influences, and I think they come out in different ways, and that's part of learning the music, is that you have to, you're gonna have influences. I think that's fine, but I don't know, I guess like it's the idea is to try to strive for we're all speaking a language, right? We're all speaking English, and there's a lot of common words. There's some structure to that language, and you'll find phrases that somebody says or ideas that other people have that you'll gravitate towards, and then you have to hopefully find a way to make it your own, or find a way to internalize it and spit it back out. I mean, yeah, he's definitely an influence I've had, for sure.
Yeah, I think Pat Metheny said that don't be afraid to do your own thing.
Sure, and I mean, if you Pat Metheny, for example, and I mean, utmost respect. I mean, he's incredibly influenced by Tonino Horta. And does that detract from the quality of Pat Metheny's music? I don't think so. I mean, I think Pat's, he's changed jazz guitar, and I think the way he incorporated, the music of Tonino Horta and other Brazilian influences really unique and original, and it's awesome. And I love Tonino Horta.
You know Russell Malone, the guitarist?
Yeah. I ran into him the other at a Henry Threadgill concert a couple of weeks ago.
He said that Pat Metheny didn't have the jazz vocabulary down.
He doesn't like that.
Well, everybody has an opinion.
All right, we're not going to get into hearsay and all that. So talk a little bit about, talk about the difficulties of, writing original music, your own original music, and promoting original music as a young artist. Because it's like everybody's trying to do sort of the same thing, have their own voice. First of all, how difficult is it to have musicians commit? Because obviously it takes a lot of rehearsal time to do. You're doing difficult music, and is that easier to do in New York than it is maybe in New Orleans? I
don't know if it's. I feel like there's much more of a session culture that gives you a lot more opportunities to workshop music with people. People are much more willing to work. If they're like-minded people, they're much more willing to to hang out. Work on music, because I feel like a lot of us are kind of working on similar concepts. Mm-hmm. I guess like one thing with that tune, the idea part of the idea was just finding different ways to. I guess one thing I spent time on was finding different ways to get away from. The typical kind of grouping of 5. So, you could take, if you could feel 5 and 2. So you could take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and cut it in half so that you're feeling it almost in 2, and the middle of the measure is on the and 3. And then if you wanted to, I don't know if you meant to, but I felt like I was hearing that a little bit, like you guys do that a bit, where you can then take that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, and then turn that into 5/8. So you can find different ways to express the rhythm of a meter, and then kind of play off that, and it gives you a different way to open up the music. And to express even different tempos, or it just gives you a point to develop from, so that, because when we're playing in 4 or 3, you're not always playing, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. There's so many things you can do, 4 or 3, whatever, there's so many opportunities, and I feel like maybe down here, in general, it's just easier to, I feel like it's easier to approach those meters more freely than it is, say, odd meters. I feel like it's just not something that's so common. Well, I feel like it's becoming very common in our culture, but if you grew up in the Balkans, for example, feeling 9/8 rhythms or like 5/8, 8-note rhythms that are mixed meters is something that's nearly innate. It's just part of, it's wedding music for them. Whereas for us, like feeling a backbeat before, it's like that's not a deal. Or feeling something really behind the beat, that's something that's almost innate in this part of the world.
See, you were talking about that with respect to the time, and I was actually going to bring up a similar question with respect to harmony. When y'all were playing that solo section, you had explained it's just 8 bars of B minor that goes down to 8 bars of A flat minor. The way y'all played it was like it doesn't sound like a tune like Impressions, where it's like you clearly hear, okay, bam, here's one chord, and then here's the other chord, and it kind of burns out on that. And there was a lot of harmonic shading, if that makes any sense. There's a lot of I know there's a lot of different modal, like, you know, implications. Like, I know for a while I heard you playing like a lot of like diminished major 7 patterns, I think, and it was really strong. But like, I guess my question is, how do you do that in a way that's, you know, I mean, I guess like how y'all did, where it's not like I'm just like, okay, this is B minor, this is very flat, you know, and I've got these other tonalities going on, but it doesn't sound like I'm just throwing out other shit just because it's just on a minor chord. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. A big part of that was changing the actual modality of that one minor chord.
Yeah.
So I mean, Douglas does this a lot. Where, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
He'll basically darken the keys. You know. He'll
Yeah,
go from
yeah, I heard that a lot.
Aeolian to Locrian, and gradually increase density that way.
Okay.
And then we kind of adjust, and you know, as a bass player, changing modality by different inversions. You know.
Yeah.
We were in like D major 7 sharp 5 line for a while. So there's a lot we can do with that too.
Yeah. And so now that wouldn't necessarily be in the chart. That's something that y'all are kind of doing on the spot.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
well, like for, I don't know, like when you play, take a tune like My Funny Valentine or Alone Together, you know, it's like you don't play the same chord progression every chorus, right? You know, it's like, you know, our goal is to kind of play each one different and to always be variating it, you know, almost like Bach or something like that, where it's sort of this development of theme and variations, and to try to find different ways to, you know, get to those arrival points, you know. So it's you kind of have like these signposts where you want to end up, and then try to find, you know, it's like, I can't remember if somebody told this to me, but it's like, how many ways can I get to my house from here? So you're always trying to find a different route home, because if you go the same way home every day, it's pretty boring, right? So you're always trying to find a different way to get to those signposts or those resolution points.
Is it difficult for them to follow you when you go into those Dorian mode, you know, different modes and meters? Is this written down, or is it really improvised?
I feel like I'm really fortunate because these guys have great ears, and they just seem to, sometimes it feels like they just kind of read my mind. Or they do something different and then I adjust, you know, or not adjust, but respond. So it's, I don't know, I feel like the goal of music is to play free. You know, I read a really nice, a good interview, regardless of what you think of him, but I read a great interview with Brad Mehldau where he's like, you know, he was saying that his favorite thing is to find freedom within a form and within a structure. And that's his preference. Everybody has a different, you know, has a different taste. And for him, like, he'll go pretty far away from the song sometimes. And I think part of his artistry is that it always relates to where he's coming from. But he'll go pretty far away from it, and, you know, listening to like his trio, I mean, they're just right there with it. And it's, yeah, I feel like trying to answer your question, I feel like we're trying to be free, trying to play free, and using different elements of structure to confine us or free us. Right, because freedom is defined by limitation, correct? So, you know, you give yourself some limitation and then try to find freedom and communication within that. So, I mean, I guess, right, the goal of what we're trying to do is, you know, like, to have a good conversation most of the time, you know, and that's the purpose of art, right? It's like to express something and to communicate, you know. It's like if the artist isn't expressing something, you're not interested, or it's just not engaging. And then if they're not communicating something, then it's ineffective. So hopefully we're having a good conversation and, you know, and including everybody. I suppose that's the goal.
And speaking of, you know, you guys listening to one another, it almost even feels like you guys are breathing together, like a horn section, especially you two. Like, it looks like you guys are singing the phrases to yourself and breathing the phrases that you're hearing. That way you guys are right here with everything that, like, gets thrown at you. Rather than being unprepared, you guys, like, intense eye contact, you're really communicating with one another. And, like, you two look like you're even breathing together, you know, so it's pretty interesting.
We go to yoga together every morning.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, I mean, like, you know, horns have to breathe and take the same articulation.
Yeah.
And it seems like you guys have that same approach, even though your instrument has nothing to do with air. So it's pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, definitely.
breathing. It's like
that connects to some of the questions that were being asked about the rhythmic structure, the tune. And to be honest, it's in 5, but I'm not really thinking 5 at all. I'm thinking like the start of the form and end of the form. And most of the time, and obviously there's a groove, there's something that needs to lock in. I mean, him and I have to have a common ground. But at a certain point, you feel comfortable with, you're comfortable enough to the point where you're feeling a pulse, and we're having a conversation over that pulse. And if that weren't the case, then I wouldn't be able to say what I really want to say, and vice versa. So that's something to point out too. That kind of having that mutual understanding and then trust.
Yeah.
Because I'm not perfect. And, well,
the trust thing is a rhythm section is a huge deal. I mean, if Cody's like just leaving the form, I mean, he's just like going nuts, and very much getting free. He needs some kind of anchor to like a reference point to come back. So it's kind of give and take. If I'm doing that, he's going to lay it down. So there's got to be some kind of communication on that level.
Yeah.
Or we both do it, and then we just look at each other when we think.
I think that's a thing too, especially now. I think you brought up today's sort of generation of jazz musicians and odd meters and complex rhythms, and I've gotten lucky enough to play in a few different bands where there were a lot of crazy rhythmic curveballs thrown at me, and trust is the key. I mean, having an understanding of that, being able to feel that, pulse, and being able to open it up, create as much space as possible. Whether it's 9 or 11 or odd metered phrases or whatever, to be able to feel that space and that breath, like you're talking about, to feel in the spaces. But then to know that, at any moment you could lose it, and it happens. It's life. So like, all right, help me out, man. And then, man, he's there, but it's that fast, and hopefully nobody listens. But that's where it should get to. And
Right.
and I think in New York too, like you brought up, whether there are more musicians or whatever to play with, or different. I think it's what I find about New York is it's just there are a lot of like-minded musicians, because a lot of people go there to meet like-minded musicians. You find a pocket of people that are interested in the same things. So it's like,
Yeah, I mean, this session culture that Douglas was talking about, like to bring tunes in like this to a session is totally normal, and everybody's down to workshop it and try new things. And if it's challenging, they'll rehearse it. We'll break down an 8-measure segment and workshop.
And depending on the context and what you're doing, there are certain people you call and you turn to. There are certain bass players that I love playing with when I'm playing really difficult music, because they're into the same thing. It's not that they're better or worse. It's not that. It's just certain contexts call for understanding of something, and if you're both in it and love that, and that's there from the get-go, then it makes it that much easier to communicate, because that homework's been done beforehand, if that makes sense.
Because there's other, little sub-pockets or cultures in jazz. There's still a huge bebop culture in New York. And more traditional things. The big bands have come back like crazy. I mean, there's like 10 working big bands right now. Like, they're phenomenal. They play. There's 2 nights a week in Brooklyn where there's big bands. Which is insane. I mean, it wasn't like that just 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So.
Doug, where did you run into Russell Malone at?
I went and saw Henry Threadgill play. Do you know his music?
What does he play?
Henry Threadgill. He plays tenor saxophone and flute. He's like, I guess he's well known for writing kind of a little outish improvised music.
Yeah.
He's been doing a band called Zoid for a long time, and he inspired a lot of kind of like the generation, maybe two generations over us, like the people like Tim Byrne and a lot of guys like that.
That's funny you said that, because he didn't like song X.
What's that?
He didn't like song X.
Threadgill.
I'm talking about Russell Malone.
Oh, okay. Man, everybody. I mean, that's the thing. Everybody has their own taste, and that's cool.
I'm just surprised.
I mean, I like Russell Malone's playing. I think he's a great player.
I'm surprised he played with him though, because he said he didn't like song X.
I I thought it was cool to see him there. I mean, yeah, and Cooper Moore was sitting right next to him, so that was an interesting picture. You know, Russell Malone, somebody who's very straight ahead, and then Cooper Moore, who's like granddaddy avant-garde jazz pianist. You know, they're both at the same concert, digging it. You know, it was cool. So,
I know a lot of most of the music you do is original music. Do you ever try to incorporate standard repertoire into your tunes? Like every once in a while, incorporate anything like that, or is it just?
Not with my projects. No, I mean I co-host a jam session on Sunday nights, and that's pretty. Yeah, it's fairly straight ahead. People come in and play tunes, and we play standards on it a lot. But
when you play standards, do you tend to stretch on the standards like you were talking about, like Brad Meldau was talking about a little bit, but trying to stretch within a form of a tune?
Yeah, sure. I try to. Yeah, I mean I try to play the song, but yeah, I try to. Guess yeah.
Why don't you play something else for us? You got
Can I ask a real quick question?
Please.
Just kind of two questions, but first, you just give like kind of ideas how like you compose. Like you're talking about being very free music. So do you just have like a small idea, or do you like fully orchestrate your heads and then like just bring it to the groove and then like add the grooves? Like do you come up with grooves? Like is it just one idea, like maybe like some like 2-bar phrase, and after a session you find out you have this full tune? I'm just kind of like curious to your compositional like approach. And then second is, like talking about these different sessions, are they like clubs going down or like?
Oh no, like sessions, like we'll go to somebody will have like a rehearsal space, or is one of the members of the Douglas Street Music Collective, and you can use that as a rehearsal space to have sessions. We built a rehearsal room in the basement of my house, so we'll just have cats over, make some coffee.
But the traditional jam session, there's probably 2 a night, 2 regular sessions a night.
Yeah, I'm just like really curious about I'm really into like this stuff. Like it's very, very cool. So, but I haven't, like where I come from, and I haven't really seen it here. So I'm just kind of curious of like how that starts, and you just meet cats like, hey, come over to my house and jam, or like.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you'll just meet people at a show or somewhere, and be like, oh, wait, if it seems cool, then yeah, be like, hey, let's play sometime, and just call up some guys and get together and do it.
And that goes back to that like-minded thing too. I think that I think I remember what gig it was, Douglas, that you came to, like when we first met.
Yeah, the one Bobby and Travis.
Yeah, and so the 2 guys that I was playing with, like Douglas, are known for, writing, I guess, more complex material like this, or along the same vein. So it's, Douglas saw it and liked the way I played, and figured, okay, well, if he does this, then he can probably, our music is similar.
This will be a cakewalk for him.
And that's the big thing, it's like you check it out and you say, this guy plays in a way that makes sense to me and my music. So, hey, come over and check out my stuff. Come play my music.
Right. About composing, I'll try to come up with, I guess I'll have a few different ideas and then try to develop them. I've kind of gotten into writing suites, so trying to take a limited amount of material and then develop it in a lot of different ways. I guess that piece, there's a lot of kind of rhythmic patterns that kind of come back and go away, like the idea of like 5 inside of 4. 4 inside of 5. I use that a lot throughout that piece. Kind of came out, and the melodic material supports it. Come up with a theme, and then maybe use that as take the interval sequence. Use that as you have a melody. Then you can take those notes, maybe change the rhythm, use that as a bass line, or transpose it, and just kind of find different ways to expand it. It's like, hopefully like a book, it's like certain characters go away and come back. It's like when you're, like when you're watching Star Wars, each character has like their own theme music, right? And then, or when you watch Indiana, if you've ever seen Indiana Jones, like when something, when he falls down or something bad happens, they play the theme music in minor, and all the music is sort of kind of helping to tell this story. So trying to tell a story, or and also you could take like if you have a series of voices, you can use that and then turn that into a melody. We're gonna play part of this song, and I use I use a lot of the chord voicings to come up with the bass line. And take the, oh, sorry, yeah, fast, yeah, blue, fast talker. And this one, so I guess to answer your question, it's usually fairly completed by the time I bring it into people. Sometimes if I have an idea I'm not sure about, I'll bring that in, but a lot of times I'll try to get it to be a complete thought before I bring something in. So a lot of the bass, the chords, and the melody are written out, and I usually leave it up to the drummer to choose how they want to interpret it. So they get a lot of work. They have to write their own parts. So let's play the whole thing. That'd be kind of a good way to. Which fast talker? Yeah, we'll play it. So this is one of an earlier suite. It's meant to be played. And we'll play this one for you.
Real quick before you guys start, I was just wondering about living in New York. Do you guys have day jobs, or are you able to like pay rent through music?
I think we all do, like, yeah, you kind of do
A lot of teaching.
a lot of different stuff. Yeah.
That's how I like to phrase it. We all do a handful of different things that, fortunately, the three of us are all related to music, be it teaching or session work or, I have a little like production help with commercial music, like writing music, and little things like that. That all these things together pay the bills, tours.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah, you kind of do a collection of things. So it's, I know people who just play music for a living, but I think it depends on what you want to be doing, or what kind of music you want to be playing, and how you want to spend your time. I mean, I think it's nice to not be. It's nice not to be stressing about where the rent's going to come from. Just to, while you're going out and hustling gigs, and to have a chance to, spend some time writing or working on some ideas and have a little bit of security. So everybody kind of finds their own balance of what they need and what they want to do. But it seems like most people have to do a lot of different stuff just to kind of stay up there.
Duh. Are there jam sessions at clubs too?
Oh yeah. There's like Arya was saying, there's like 2 jam sessions a night in the city.
Where is it
at least. There's like 4 or 5 in Brooklyn each week. So almost 5 nights a week. There's a jam session in Brooklyn. There's a couple in Astoria.
Is that open to everyone, or is it more like you
I think it depends on where you go, but most of them are pretty relaxed and they're pretty friendly, and it's pretty. Yeah, it's usually a pretty good vibe. I mean, if the people can play, then it's usually pretty inviting. I don't think I've been to too many where I walked away not wanting to ever go back again.
There's one I often host with this older trumpet player, John McNeil, who's not afraid to tell the person that comes up to the stage that you're not ready to be here. It's a professional jam session. It doesn't mean it in a mean way.
How do they know that before he plays?
So we'll play another one for you. This one's called Fast Talker on a Slow Walk.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us a little about your need a CD and where you playing in town while you're here? You know?
Sure. Yeah, I put out recorded a record with a quartet, 2011, and it's called Alice Obscura. The last piece is on it, and Umbra's on it, and it's came out on First Sound New Talent Records last May, and we're playing at the Blue Nile tonight for the Open Ear Series at 10. And then we're playing at Dos Cetes on Thursday. We're playing the Covington Landing Series on Friday. And then Sunday we're playing at Cafe Istanbul at 7 o'clock. So if you guys are around and interested, please come by. Yeah. And if anybody is interested in a CD, I have some with me. I'd be happy to sell you guys one if you're interested. And yeah.
How difficult is that for you to book tours? I mean, do you do this a lot around the country, or do you ever go travel any other places besides New Orleans? Or?
Yeah, mostly with other people's groups.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the first. Yeah, I've only done a little bit of it with my own groups.
Right.
So yeah, it's.
So you have to do it yourself, obviously. You know, you have to kind of take it upon yourself to make the phone calls and set everything up and buy plane tickets and. Yeah. And Doug told me that this guitar can actually fit under the seat of a airplane.
Yeah, it's a plus.
Yeah. And can you introduce the guys again? I forgot.
I'm sorry, this is Ari Retzky on bass.
Say again?
Okay. Corey Brown on drums.
Yeah. Cool, man. Tell us a little bit about your bass and the Chadwick bass? That seems to be the new paradigm now.
This is actually buddies of mine.
Okay.
I'm gonna buy one when I get back because I'm kind of
Okay.
in love. It's, I mean, it's pretty much impossible to fly with a regular bass now. Normally, they'll charge you an extra ticket, and it has to go on a cargo plane. It doesn't even go on your same plane.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a new reality.
Like Douglas said, the local 802, the musicians in New York, has been working with the FAA to lift some of those ridiculous restrictions, and a lot of them have been lifted. So a lot of airlines are a lot cooler now with instruments. But this one, I don't know if you guys saw me setting it up. Basically, the fingerboard comes off, the neck folds into the body, and it's like the size of a large suitcase. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm buying one.
Other than that, I mean, do most bass players now rent basses, or there's like a
Just kind of a network of just sharing.
Yeah, sharing basses.
Yeah. It's tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, normally you'd like to play it a couple hours after you set it up because the intonation just slips like crazy. So
Yeah.
a little difficult for this, but that's okay.
That one sounds good. I've heard some that don't sound as good as that. You know, it sounds nice.
Yeah, feels good.
Well, do we have any other questions we'd like to ask Doug before we kind of wrap things up, or anybody have any?
$10.
And what pedals are you running? If you don't mind sharing.
No. This is just the one I can kind of put in my bag when I go on the airplane. It's a TC Electronics Nova Reverb. It's okay. I wouldn't encourage you to go get one, but it gets the job done. So that's what I bring when I have to go somewhere. When I have to pack a bag, get on an airplane. This is a delay pedal made by Strymon. Kind of has the modulated delay, which is kind of cool sometimes. This one's a Tube Screamer, TS 808 reissue. It's kind of like basically the 80s overdrive reissue. And then this is a Klon Centaur. It's another overdrive pedal. It's kind of a little boutique thing.
Who's the builder?
Bill Finnegan.
Okay.
He's like in New Hampshire, I think, and he does a couple of small runs of them every 5 years or so. And this is the second run.
Is this normally like your setup, or do you have like a more expensive?
No, I usually I have a Polytone at home, and the reverb's broken, so I have a Lexicon rack I use just to get a little bit of reverb out of it, and then I'll bring this if the delay pedal, and then like an overdrive, and just sometimes I'll put this one in the chain too, just so I can have two different, so I don't have to sit, lean over and adjust the knobs all the time. It's kind of nice just to know what you're going to get when you hit that button.
And that's a Voodoo power supply.
Yeah.
Do you find like it has like ever any noise? Like you ever have any noise problems with your gear?
It's not too bad. No. It's usually not an issue. I mean, if you're playing, I don't use effects when I'm playing like duo or solo, so
yeah.
It's not really necessary. So if there's drums, I feel like it's not going to be that noisy. Plenty of noise.
Do you still have your Foster 7-string?
Yeah, I've got two. If anybody's looking to buy one, but he made one for me. It took God bless
Yeah.
God bless him. But it took him quite a while to finish the one he custom built for me. Probably because I asked him to do a bunch of weird stuff to it. But yeah, I love it. It's a great guitar. It's a real problem to travel with because it's like a 7-string baritone guitar, so it's about as tall as an electric bass. So it's a little tricky to travel with. And because of the register, I tend not to play. It would probably hang me up to dry if I was pulling that thing out and playing that low 7 all the time. So yeah, I tend to only use it for a couple of things I do. But yeah, no, definitely still have them, still like them. I play a lot of nylon string guitar as well.
Do you find that a lot of musicians or artists in New York are finding it harder to live in New York just because of the cost of living? And I seem like I get little reports of guys that want to move back or move out because it's getting so expensive, to live in New York City. Do you find that to be true? I mean, just travel and paying tolls and. Do you live in Manhattan or you live in Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn.
Okay.
And I moved out there when I got second year I lived in New York. So it's been pretty okay. Cost of living out there is pretty all right, but New York is expensive and Manhattan is getting more and more expensive. You know, can't really. What are you gonna do? It's capitalism. You know, people can make more money, they will. So you know, if you can rent out to people who have more money, why not? You know, raise the rent, and rent to build a big condo. And
crony capitalism.
So, you know, rent it out to Bradford. Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of see that a little bit with the scene, with a lot of the venues. Tonic closed down in the early 2000s. The Knitting Factory stopped doing experimental music by 2000, and now they're in Brooklyn as well, and they only do rock. But I feel like it's still a pretty vibrant scene, and you know, like in the late 60s when the loft scene kind of became a big deal up there. You know, kind of. So I think, you know, jazz was sort of or acoustic music was having a hard time with, you know, the Beatles and sort of the British invasion. So you started kind of seeing, like, you know, this big loft scene emerging in New York, and like it almost seems like you're seeing that again now. Kind of a lot of house concerts and sort of small series that people curate and put on with a collective of friends and things like that.
Yeah. And you describe your music as contemporary improvised music. Is there a sort of a new name that's sort of evolving from this sort of movement of, you know, jazz or whatever, or
I feel like it used to be downtown, but now all that's sort of moving more and more into Brooklyn.
Okay.
So what are you gonna
downtown music?
I think it's just improvised music, contemporary music.
Okay.
I think people.
I was just wondering if people are starting to label it, because I mean, you know, obviously, you know, like the term jazz has such a. It's almost meaningless now unless you use some kind of adjective, you know, like it's traditional jazz or it's Afro-Cuban jazz or it's this jazz or that jazz or whatever, you know. So it's like it seems like everybody wants to kind of, if you're trying to market your music, if you're trying to, you know, let people know in a word, kind of describe what you do, you know. Is that how you describe it? You say contemporary improvised music? Or is there a certain terminology? Is it third stream music?
That or
you know?
Downtown. I don't know. I think third stream's more, people kind of tend to call that new music now. Like if it's you're really trying to blend classical music with it. A lot of them are improvising traditions.
Right.
That tends to be. But I don't know. I guess you can debate all of those things. I mean, maybe third stream.
No. I realize it's not about that. It's about just the reality of like trying to. I just wonder if, because there's a lot of musicians that are kind of like-minded musicians, like you, they're doing your own thing and doing contemporary, interesting music and stuff like that. And I was just wondering if there's sort of a name that's starting to be attached to it, you know, that could describe it as it's this kind of music, or is it you know, whatever.
I feel like it's still a little bit vague. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
I just call it jazz.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think
like, to be honest, if somebody came off the street into this clinic and said, "What kind of music is this?" they'd probably say jazz.
Well, no, you know, like for me, like when people ask me what the Astro Project is about, and we don't do traditional jazz. I say we play contemporary New Orleans jazz,
right?
And I think that best describes who we are. You know what I mean? So just from a, you know, and that's how I describe it. It's just contemporary. You know, it's very eclectic, and we do lots of different things and stuff like that. But it definitely has a New Orleans kind of vibe to it, or basis to it, or whatever, history to it, or whatever. You know, so I was just curious. You know?
I think it depends. I know a few different projects. One guy in particular draws a lot from like spectral music, spectral harmony. You know, so they've called his music like new complexity music or spectral jazz or
okay, spectral jazz. I've never heard that term before.
Necessarily like the labels, but you know, I think that everybody.
Yeah, I mean nobody likes labels, but it's like everybody puts labels, you know. So it's like you have to kind of.
And how they sort of define their music individually. If it's influenced by Messiaen, then maybe you can call that. And I don't know. I just they've had some way of describing it and connect to that.
Yeah.
So I'm finding out at least different write-ups.
Yeah. Messi jazz.
Messi
jazz.
Well, we really enjoyed having you here, man.